Hello, colleagues and friends. Welcome again to Journalism Classics with Ali Hakeem. We are in that season again when the enterprising beat reporter, news editor, and media houses should be cashing in on the avalanche of stories that will be coming up with the presentation of next year's budget by state governments and the federal government. With the presentation of the budgets, there should be a harvest of news stories, feature articles, analysis, and so on and so forth. It is also expected that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be presenting the national budget for 2025 to the National Assembly any moment from now. After the state governors and the president must have presented their budgets to the various legislative houses, the media has a responsibility to make it easy for members of the public to get a full grasp of what these budgets contain. To do this effectively, reporters and editors should look through the budget line by line, retrieve the preceding year's budget, from their archives, and do contrasting and comparison between the two, so that the reading public will be able to arrive at informed decision on whether the governments, state and federal, are actually making plans to make life more abundant for their constituents. It is actually not ideal to just state that Governor YZ has presented a 680 billion naira budget for 2025, or that the president has presented a 5 trillion naira 2025 budget to the National Assembly. It is better to put the stories in context by reporting that the president, for instance, presented a 5 trillion naira budget to the National Assembly, showing an increase or decrease of 1 trillion naira over the 4 trillion naira budget or 6 trillion naira budget that was presented in 2024. In situations where we use percentages, we should make it more comprehensible, by stating that the 2025 budget is of XYZ naira, billion naira or trillion naira is 3% higher or lower than the BDC trillion naira budget for 2024. In recent years, the National Assembly has been increasing national budgets presented to it by the executive by inserting what they call constituency projects, which must be funded in the budget. This is actually an anomaly. What still is that the planning, funding, and execution of these projects have been opaque in nature over the years. Yes, lawmakers legitimately should attract projects to their constituencies and should lobby colleagues to ensure that such projects see the light of day. But when such projects are forced down the throats of the executive arm of government, the media has a responsibility, to question such moves, to raise an eyebrow and begin to let the public know that while this was the original budget presented, as I time it was going to be passed, this is the amount that the National Assembly has forwarded to the president for his assent. It is also understandable, anyway, that the National Assembly members that insert these projects in the budget, want to use them to strengthen their political base back home, to strengthen their relevance back home in their various constituencies. It becomes incongruous, however, when the erection of street lights in a council area is funded by, for instance, say the Ministry of Science and Technology or Ministry of Water Resources or the Ministry of Justice or any of their parastatals, as the case may be. It is incongruous that in the budget of say the Ministry of Information or any other ministry as it were, the ministry or any of its parastatals is funding empowerment schemes in some states, responsibilities that ought to be that of the state government in question. The media has a responsibility to focus on this development, as lawmakers are elected to make laws and not to execute projects in their constituency. Execution of projects is the responsibility of the executive arm of government, not that of lawmakers. This anomaly actually crept into our budgetary cycles when a sitting president seeking to amend the constitution so as to give him a third term of office needed to lobby members of the National Assembly with all manner of things to get his way through. Some traditional areas of focus in budgets are the capital and the recurrent expenditure columns, which require close scrutiny when comparing and contrasting the preceding budget with the one that has just been presented. The federal government budget, the benchmark for revenue is based on anticipated price of crude oil, average price of crude oil in the incoming year, because crude oil is Nigeria's major export revenue earner. Other sources of anticipated revenue are non-oil exports, internally generated revenue, and so on and so forth. The major source of funding for the state governments is the monthly handouts from Abuja. Still in the area of anticipated revenue, it is essential for the media to remind the public that while X trillion naira was anticipated for the preceding year, Y trillion naira is anticipated for the current budget, showing a decrease of or increase of X or Y naira over the preceding budget. This makes better meaning to the reader, listener, or viewer. Many budgets that will be read will also have deficits, and the media should also pay attention on how the government intends to fund the deficit in the budget. When doing sectorial analysis on the budgets, it is better to follow the same format of comparing and contrasting. The sectorial analysis actually become commonplace when the minister or commissioner for finance, as the case may be, gives a breakdown of the budget. Going forward, the presentation of the budget offers an opportunity for the beat reporter, for an enterprising beat reporter actually, to appraise the implementation of budgets in his or her beat in the outgoing year and compare and contrast same with the proposal for the sector in the incoming year. In the event that reporters and editors cannot readily recall what the budget outlook was in their beats, in the outgoing year, they may seek help from Budge IT. It is an organization that facilitates budget reforms at national and subnational levels through stakeholder and institutional engagements, collaborations, partnerships, and active citizen mobilization. Next Sunday, God willing, I shall be speaking about the definition of news. Kindly remember to follow me on all social media handles, like, comment, and share every episode of Journalism Classics. See you next Sunday, God willing. Thank you. Bye.